Welcome back to Keeping BZ. And you know what we're doing tonight? We're gonna win the race. Win the race. Just win the race. So this is another Sage demo. And I played this one. This is one of the very few I've played, and this one's my favorite so far. And Brandon has also played this one. This is one of the very few BZs where we've both played the game. This is currently only a demo. The full game is out, I believe, for $20.
Yes. Yeah, $20 on Steam. I played an earlier demo that had less content than what Zach's playing here. Zach has the final demo booted up here, which is what was available at the booth at Sage 2025. The early demo I played, though, I genuinely really enjoyed because I felt like this game did a really good job of, it has that kind of speed you'd expect out of Sonic, as if the character design isn't obvious about what kind of game this might be. But the thing that makes Avant Neon unique and interesting is that its combat system is also based around making things as fast as possible with the combos, which I think is a cool way of building upon the Sonic thing. Like the way that Sonic Frontiers, made things about its own combat system. This also is all about trying to make things more speedy, but in some ways I think this is better in feel than some of Sonic Frontiers combat. How do you feel about the whole lo-fi aesthetic we got in this tutorial, Zach, with the background?
I like it. I think it's a good tutorial area. I like the character designs overall, but I will admit, from what I remember, I'm not reading it too much right now, but when I first played the demo, I was not the biggest fan of the writing. It's not bad.
Sure.
But I'm not really playing this game for its writing. But the combat and speed is very, very good.
Yeah, I'd also recommend at some point trying the Spark, the Electric Jester franchise, which is also another fan game series made by a Sonic fan game developer that then went off to make his own IP. And that also has a fairly, kind of robust combat system. Though I admit Avant Neon, I think, is better when it comes to crafting a combat system that feels good with the speed. But Spark is also quite cool, especially because you can change into all sorts of different forms, kind of like in Kirby.
Yeah, I've heard about Spark the Electric Jester, but I haven't played it or even seen gameplay of it myself.
Basically, at least the first one especially, is a combination of Sonic with a bit of Kirby, because you're acquiring different... in this case, hats you're putting on that give you different forms and abilities. Of course, it's a Sonic fan game developer, so they got that classic figure 8 move when Sonic, of course, does his super peel out in Sonic CD. Whatever reason, that is a popular thing in Sonic fan games, is that whether it's a Sonic fan game or a new IP or whatever, they always love to put in something that looks like the super peel out, or at least have it as a move. Which I'll admit, in this game it works great because it's just, what this character looks like sprite-wise when they're going top speed. In the Sonic fan games, I'm always kind of confused by that design choice because I never got, as somebody that's played Sonic CD multiple times and gotten all the time stones and done all that stuff, I've never understood the appeal of the super peel out outside of the feel of it being, just it looks cool seeing Sonic rev up like that and shoot off, but it's mainly a much more ineffectual spin dash. You don't have the protection to ward off enemies that you would with the spin dash, and also many times I find the super peel out also has much less speed than the traditional Sonic spin dash when it's revved up. Oh, yes, we got little Sonic TVs in there. It's always been an interesting design choice to me, or like visually with the icons of Sonic, is that his like power-ups and shields and ring collections come out of little TVs that for some reason that's I guess what it's supposed to be is that it's like containers containing items that Robotnik has, stolen or collected, that he has the little TV screen out on front to kind of tell you what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I know Jazz the Jackrabbit especially uses the TV screens.
Oh, yep. See, that is super satisfying. Like, getting down the perfect dodge timing.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for the speed of the game, too.
I'm not sure where it came from, but, like, that whole, like, style of the after shadow effects when someone goes super fast or all that, I'm genuinely curious where that came from, because it seems like something that would be created by anime as a genre and the way they do action scenes, but I've always wondered where after shadow effects like that really started, whether that's like an 80s thing or it came from somewhere else, but it always just looks cool.
And of course, we've got a Super Neon. I'm pretty sure it's not actually called Super, but it looks very much like a Supersonic that you get by hitting 100% res.
Yeah, I love both the sprite design and just the sound effects because it gives the vibe of like a gunshot blast whenever you punch like that.
Keep forgetting when I use the break attack, I can't do the dodge afterwards.
Yeah, I'd be interested to pick up the full game someday to just get an idea of how these mechanics evolve for like a full game. And it just keeps going. But yeah, and I guess, I don't mind saying this. I mean, you mentioned it to me off mic before, Zach. But whenever fan game developers try to come up with their own original IP that's, not Sonic, and they try to give it its own unique style that they find cool, that is, copyright distinct, there's always, to me, like a mixed bag in terms of how often those actually look appealing or acceptable. Like, I think, like you, I actually think Avant Neon's character design is cool. I have no idea what this character is supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter because ultimately he just looks neat. The green and purple color palette is really appealing. But like, for example, you said that you were just not really pulled in by the look of Rolling Rascal, which is the 3D IP game made by the developers of Sonic GT, which they're really good at figuring out how to do a 3D fast game design. But yeah, I would have to agree. I'm not really super into Rolling Rascal as a character design. I really appreciate the amount of cosmetics the developers are adding into that game to allow you to really customize the look. But I don't know what quite it is. Like, character design appeal isn't an exact science. It's just something about the way something looks. Like, sometimes it's about the rounded shapes. Sometimes it's about, just something looking cute or something looking, badass and angular. But something about Roland Rascal to me, he looks all right, but I don't really look at that character, and it doesn't, like, I don't want to play the game based on the character design like I would by looking at Sonic the Hedgehog or, like Sly Cooper and like seeing these characters going, they just look cool. I want to play their games. Roller Rascal just looks okay, but I'm mainly playing the game because I know these developers make good games.
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in Advent Neon for the gameplay. Like, I do think the character design does look pretty good. But like you, I'm like, not really entirely sure what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, when I played the older demo, I was not really enthralled by the story and writing either, which unfortunately is also kind of a thing with a lot of fan game developers and new IP by fan game developers that is a recurring thing, is that they make like platforming games like Sonic, but they're trying to, you know, strike out by telling their own story and narrative, but they never really click with me with whatever they're doing with their plots. You know, mainly because sometimes it is just like a lot of, you know, talking heads with text, which is what you can do on a fan game budget. But like Spark the Electric Jester, especially in like 2 and 3, tries harder to have more of a world building and story, but those never really do anything for me because I feel like I'm just constantly being introduced to new characters and I don't know necessarily why I'm supposed to care about them.
Yeah, I reached super at the end. But, yeah, I find the issue with a lot of fan game writing is that, what's the best way to put it? There's always a certain fan fiction quality to it.
Sure.
Like, it always feels, I guess amateurish might be the word, but that's not the word I want to use. More, what is the word I'm trying to think of? I guess maybe amateurish does work. But I guess just more like, I don't know, I feel like they always try to be this weird combination of kooky, but also extremely dark for no reason.
Right. And like, it's not that I don't want these games to have stories. I always like being given motivation as to why I'm doing something. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people are just fine with, here's a game, now play the game. But I'm happy to have some sort of character motivation. I just never really find a lot of the stories in many of these types of games really does it for me in the ways of others. Wow, okay. So you are just supposed to climb up those walls.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't cling to the wall. No!
Yeah. Now, Zach, you need to throw the controller and say, I hit the button, though.
Like a real Let's Player.
Yeah, it's like a real Let's Player. I do appreciate this, too, that, like, doing well at the perfect dodge is how also you get health back. Kind of like, you know, reminds me a bit of the new Doom's kind of design for combat.
Oh, the parry does give you health back. I thought I was just getting that back from the chips.
You know, the parry does help you get your health back. It's rewarding you for doing good at video game.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the new Doom game, is the game being like, hey, you're playing pretty good, we'll give you some health back. Especially with the glory kills. I thought the glory kills would get old, but they actually don't. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Although this video is showing one of my weaknesses, I'm very bad at very fast platforming. I can, for the most part, do a lot of the... Well, never mind. I was gonna compliment myself on something, and then I'm getting my ass beat by this little guy.
I will say I do think Advent does a good job giving you enough space to see the environment around you. It's not like some of the earlier Sonic the Hedgehog games where the 4:3 aspect ratio made it difficult to not just constantly bash into things. It's also level design too. There's not as many just like spikes placed right in front of you or a sudden, you know, drop to your death like in the Sonic Advance games by Dibs.
Yeah, I never played those, but I know they are infamous for spikes and pits.
Especially 3. 3's where the level design really just falls apart for me. But yeah, 1 and 2 are not bad. They're worth a shot. And then obviously Sonic Rush is worth playing.
Sonic Rush, I mainly want to play for the OST. Which the last time I did that, I played an extremely mid video game. So hopefully Sonic Rush is not that.
No, Sonic Rush is a good game. Though Zach will be disappointed to learn there is a fair bit of story in Sonic Rush, and there's a lot of talking head cutscenes.
I mean, I don't mind talking head cutscenes. It's more just like, I don't know. I really wish I could explain it well, but I can't at the moment.
It's basically just, you know, Blaze comes into Sonic's world, and she's trying to figure out why she's here and how she ended up here, and trying to get her specific Chaos Emeralds called the Soul Emeralds back. And in the meantime, she forms a friendship with Cream the Rabbit. And so that's what you get on her side of things, and then of course on the Sonic side of things, it's him and Tails being like, "Who's this weird cat lady?" and chasing after her. There's not a whole lot to it, but there is a surprising amount of dialogue. And then they do a little bit more story stuff with actual like cutscenes and all of that in Sonic Rush Adventure, the sequel, which actually takes place in Blaze the Cat's world. Which I've always wanted to see them go back to in another Sonic game, but I guess that probably will never happen. Sheesh. It's like rhythm game timing. Yeah, B rank. Not bad.
Okay, I think I finally know how to describe it. Every one of these fan games I play always feels like someone came up with the world and they're like, yeah, everyone's gonna like love this world and be into it as much as I am. And then you just sort of see it, and then it's like, you know, it's not like badly written, but you could tell. I don't know, it's just one of those like passion projects that the creator has passion for that. That, like, it would be hard for anyone else to get into. That's always the feeling I get from a lot of fan games.
Like, the idea that they believe this world on its own is interesting, that they can't just... that they don't follow a lot of the basic, like, story writing tips of just, you know, introducing the world slowly and making it so you have reasons built up from the beginning as to why you're supposed to care about this character and their adventure.
Yeah, something like that. That's at least the feeling I get out of it. That's more like, there's also, like, a lot of forced comedy in a lot of them. Sure.
I know that especially you've talked a bit about your feelings on the comedic character in the indie game Indivisible.
I actually do like Indivisible's world and characters, but I hate that character so fucking much. And you could tell the writer just loves the shit out of her. And I'm like, can I please get this character out of my party? Please tell me there's a dramatic moment where she dies.
Yeah.
She's one of the first ones you get, and she's constantly having dialogue, when there are much more interesting party members you get who don't get many lines.
Right. I'd like to play that game one day, but admittedly that was one of the reasons why I was debating whether I was going to get into it or not.
Oh no, like, I do think the story is actually pretty good. I just don't like that character. She's, like, not even really plot relevant. She just exists for haha funny. And she is not funny at all.
This might be controversial. I don't know whether or not it is, or maybe a hot take, but I am someone that actually does like the storytelling in a Freedom Planet. I haven't beaten Freedom Planet 2 because that game's boss fights actually give me a lot of trouble, and so I kept rage quitting the boss fights in Freedom Planet 2 because I'm not very good at the game's like parry and dodge mechanic, where you have to like shield yourself. But Freedom Planet 1, despite, you know, how people have talked about the voice acting and all that, I genuinely enjoyed the story and characters in the first Freedom Planet. It has a very kind of charming, almost like older like 90s anime kind of vibe to it that I really do like jive with. 90s anime, but also kind of 90s like continuity based like kids cartoon. But obviously, Freedom Planet goes a little harder in terms of dealing with kind of deeper issues with characters and the villain being somebody that just murders outright. Which, you know, gives a bit of that, reminds me a bit of like a lot of modern cartoons too, like Gravity Falls or Steven Universe, where there is a bigger focus on deeper emotional issues that are being explored in relationships. So especially like the friendship between the main character, Lilac, and her wildcat friend, I think is well done in the first Freedom Planet. I actually got involved with those two. And that's why I can say with that story, I feel like it does hit what I need it to. Yes, it feels like a game made by Sonic fan game makers, but in a good way, where they kind of combine what I like about that stuff. So, especially early on in Freedom Planet, I think it does a good job making Lord Brevin legitimately a unsettling villain that will just kill, and why, you know, you would want Lilac and the gang to save their world. I need to get more into Freedom Planet 2, but I could tell that they were definitely doing a lot more with world building and character stuff in 2. There you go. Dodge to get some of that health back.
I keep forgetting I can't just dodge. I have a meter for it.
Right. That's another thing about game mechanics, too, is like when it's okay to make something limited and when it's okay that something is just unlimited and you're allowed to use it as much as you want. Because sometimes that can be really fun, but sometimes, people bitch that it makes things too easy.
Oh, yeah, I don't think the dash should be unlimited. Especially since, you know, you use it to dodge. It's just sort of like, I just keep forgetting.
Well, like, in Sonic Frontiers, where the parry has no limit, as long as you're guarding Sonic auto parries, which is OP. Or, like Sonic 06, where they just made the meter for all of Sonic's gem abilities not work, so you can just use them as much as you want. Oh boy. Nice, there you go. This developer really knows, like, graphics-wise, how to make things look satisfying on impact.
Yeah, and I would say that's a really well-made boss fight, too. Oh, no story. I don't mean to make it sound like all these Sonic fan games have terrible story and that they shouldn't have story to begin with.
No, it's not that. It's just, yeah, sometimes those elements suffer from the problems of somebody just trying to write, like, their first ever story into a fan game.
Just putting in a bunch of things from all the kinds of different stories they like. It's like, it's got to be comedic, but it's also got to be super serious and be super dark.
So, Zach, in Pokemon, are there black Pokeballs?
There should be at least one. The Master Ball's purple. There's all different colors of Pokeballs. Is there a black one?
Because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that thing, was like a black Pokeball, which I'm sure, was probably somewhat a homage. Oh, I mean, the Ultra Ball is black. It has like a black cover and then like the yellow kind of lightning like going across it.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about the Ultra Ball because I'm like, wait, it's Pokeball, Great Ball, and then Master Ball. And I'm like, oh, I forgot the Ultra Ball. Because I think I was thinking the Heavy Ball was black, but that might not be right. Oh, that Neon, he ran off before they asked more questions about stuff.
And also, I also wonder how many of these games, originally, everything we're seeing right now was just this, but insert this Sonic character. Because I imagine that's a really tough time having to, like, rip it away from the IP and trying to figure out how you're going to make this work. Nice. Just full on DBZ.
Yeah, this is pretty much the end of the demo, except for... Oh. Yeah, this is pretty much the end of the demo. Oh, hello. I didn't talk to you last time.
Okay.
Okay, that line of dialogue I did like. Yeah, but already, this is another short one. Yeah, this is, so far at the very least, only about 29 minutes. Another short one, because, you know, the stage games are short because they're mainly demos. But this one is one I really like, and I do plan on getting this one at some point. Because I love the combat and the speed. And I completely forgot you could dash in 8 directions.
Yeah, I love the whole aesthetic of it. I love how snappy the control feels. How fast you, you know, and it's one of those cases where the combat, the control meets the demands of the combat, where you really can move as fast as the game needs to. Whereas in a lot of, like, even AAA games, where I sometimes feel like the controls are not designed very well for everything the game wants you to do. Or like a lot of older games were that way, where the controls are obtuse, but the game expected you to do crazy things with them.
Yeah, I've definitely played games like that, but just none come up to my head. But yes, there are definitely a lot of action games where your character moves kind of slow, and not just kind of slow. And then the game throws a bunch of fast attacks at you, and I'm like, did you... Like, you couldn't have programmed my character to be a little bit faster if you're going to throw all this stuff at me?
Yeah. To me, that was the case with a lot of games on the Wii, where they were like, oh yeah, I mean, especially when we get the Wii Motion Plus, I mean, obviously this stuff is going to be so accurate that we can do all kinds of things with the motion controls. And then you play games that get over-ambitious with the motion controls, and they're basically unplayable. Yeah, it's just going to boot you back out because you don't have all the shards, Zach. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. Avant Neon looks awesome, and I'll definitely pick up the full game at some point, too.
But thank you for watching our yearly... How many years have we done a Sage Keeping BZ? Is this our second or third?
I think this is second.
Alright, yeah, I think you're right. I think it is second.
Last time we did fan games, and this time around we're actually doing some real, normal IP games of more original qualities.
Yes, thank you for joining our second annual Sage Showcase. Have a good night.